It's good. Yo, let me fix my gallery. Hang on. What up, homie? Greetings and salutations. You are tuned in to Milkshake Scholar Season 2. And, I've had some special episodes. I call every episode special because everyone that comes on is pretty special. This was special too. This is for the first time ever. I've got my man Yahdon Israel on Milkshake Scholar. And I've been thinking about how I would bring on Yahdon. And there's only one way to do it. And that's with Yahdon making a milkshake. And we'll talk about this for a second. Yahdon, have you ever made a milkshake?
Yeah, I made one before. I made a few in my lifetime.
So Yahdon has made a milkshake before. So you're not a first, because we've had people on here doing this for the first time. So he's got some experience. Yahdon is the founder of Literary Swag Book Club. He's the host of Lit. He's a writer, editor, more importantly, one of my very, very good friends here in New York City.
Thank you. That's that last part is one of the most important, that we're friends.
Important part. That's the important part. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you for bringing me on to this Milkshake Scholar platform. And I went and I bought the ice cream and everything.
Oh, what you working with? What you working with? What kind of ice cream?
I got the vanilla caramel fudge Ben and Jerry's mix.
Okay. I was wondering what you would get, because I know in the past, like, depending on what kind of flavors and what we're drinking, whether it's a cocktail or a milkshake, I've never seen you drink. I don't think I've ever seen you drink a milkshake.
No, that's not true. You, me, and Aunt was drinking milkshake.
We went to Ample Hills. We did
that. Fair
enough. I'm working with the Van Leeuwen strawberry. To no one's surprise, I have strawberry. So so we're gonna get started. I don't want the ice cream to melt. So the first thing you're gonna do is pour the milk into. You have a bullet. I'm gonna pour milk into a blender.
How much are you supposed to pour in here?
So I've been doing. So it really depends on what kind of shake you like. Some people do 1/4 because they like their milkshake thick. I do 2/3 because I like it. I like more milk in mine. And I'm using that Oatly milk. So I'm trying to go on the healthier side. That whole milk hasn't been sitting with me lately, sitting well with me, brother. So
fair enough.
I'm going for the Oatly.
So you got to pour the milk.
I see you got the milk there. And then all you're gonna do after that, you're gonna use the entire or whatever fits into your bullet, because I know you drink out of the bullet, right?
It's got to economize. I'm not in my crib right now.
So I'm in a try to get as much ice cream.
I'm in a workspace.
Try to get as much ice cream in there as you can, but you won't be able. I use the whole pint, but you won't be able to put the whole pint in there. I know for sure.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put a whole pint in. That's just gluttonous. Probably should have bought this sooner.
Why you say that?
So it could be softer by the time we did this.
Yeah, I've had this sitting out for about 20 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. My blender's started acting up.
So is this things you want to talk about while we're doing this?
Yeah. So for folks watching at home, this is usually the easiest milkshake that I make, and it's just the milk and the ice cream. And the tools that I use, of course, I have a blender. You can also do it with a bullet. I've had people do it with a bullet before. I usually have ice cream scoop or a big spoon to get the ice cream out. I let it soften for a little bit. So maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let the ice cream get soft. And then, of course, thinking about the environment here. So I have a metal straw. I've been using metal straws for my milkshake, so I don't have to throw them away afterwards.
Did you steal yours from Soho House like I did?
Nah, I bought these. They weren't that expensive on Amazon, so I got a group of them, like a pack of 3 or pack of 4. And then, of course, I have this long milkshake spoon that I use just in case I make the thicker milkshakes, so I can scoop it out of the cup in case I want to. So that's what I've been working with, man. How you doing over there?
Yeah, I think I'm in a good place.
So tell me something. Oh, well, since you're in a good place, let's blend first and then we'll chop it up. So I'm gonna put my
All
top
right.
on.
I just want to give people a heads up because I'm blending milk. This is a very odd thing to be doing in a public workspace. So there might be a really good chance that someone comes in and goes, "What are you doing?"
For those that are watching, Yahdon is not at home. He's in a public workspace making a milkshake.
Soho Works is a public private, a private social workspace. So this is about to get, this is about to be funny.
And I'm gonna blend mine. I'm gonna turn my mic to the side.
Waiting for somebody to come to the door and be like, did I just hear a blender? Because that's like the last thing you expect to hear when you at work, working at like you at WeWork and you hear a blender go off and it's like not an event. It's not an event. You're like, wait, did I just hear? So I just gotta.
Okay, I think
I gotta get more milk in here. I want the consistency where I can actually drink it.
yeah, you definitely want some consistency there.
All right, I got it. So
you got it?
good. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna pour mine into a cup. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Let me unplug this so this shit don't look like a goddamn Good Morning America segment. Put this stuff back. Time somebody complain, everything will be put away. I'm like, oh, that's blender. You heard of blender? Nah.
You're not sharing. Yesterday I tried to get fancy and I used frozen strawberries, and my blender said no, we're not doing that. So
why'd you use frozen strawberries?
Because I had somebody gave me a vanilla pint of something a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to use it, so I figured I'd just have a strawberry milkshake the old-fashioned way, and my blender was not putting up with that. Give me 1 second. Try the milkshake. See how it is.
Hey, bro. So thank you for having me on this.
Cheers, brother. Cool. So for those folks that are watching at home, Yahdon and I met at the New School during our MFA years, and we just kind of nurtured that friendship to where it is today. Yahdon, I was thinking about this last year when the pandemic started, and more so when we were like moving around in June, July, and you were checking in. And I didn't, I had been checking in on folks too, but
right.
I remember like the emphasis that you placed on it. Talk to me a little bit about, for you personally, the importance of checking in on folks, especially during these times we're in right now.
Right. Well, I think the importance of it is just knowing, reminding myself that I'm connected to people. I think something that even outside of the pandemic, that the pandemic can exacerbate, is like if I know when I'm in my moods where I like don't want to talk to anybody, or I'm in that mood where I feel like emotionally or intellectually stuck, I don't reach out. I don't ask for help. I think that what happened for me in the pandemic, I think there was a period where like there's a moment of like surviving and just getting through day to day that becomes important. So it's just like I just gotta, get up. Let me just make food. Let me, brush my teeth. Let me just do what's in front of me and have it definitely, I think having a toddler or a kid at this time, I think there's something different for people who live with their partners or have roommates or especially have kids, that I can get really absorbed by what is in front of me. But then at a point I realized that so much of who I am as a person is checking and tapping in with the community, what people in my community, and just seeing how they're doing and just talking to them. And I think that for me, because it was at a point so muscle memory that during the pandemic, like it's a muscle that I realized I have to exercise, checking in on people, checking up.
Yeah.
Because I think for the first month and a half, I was definitely more in a, what's that word? Like I think the first 3 weeks I was in a just surviving. Like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to expect. So let me just, put myself in a space where I'm in survival. And then really quickly, like, it becomes more to life than just surviving. So connecting is another part of that survival for me. So
Yeah.
then checking up became just as important. Like, let me just check in with my people, see how they're doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned food. For folks watching that don't know, Yahdon can cook. And I'm not saying that to gas him up. The brother can cook. I witnessed firsthand Yahdon's fried chicken. And I gotta tell you, Yahdon, we've been really good friends. I can count on one hand my day ones and my New York day ones. And if I had a wedding tomorrow and I had to invite some folks from up here, you would be the first person I would hit up. Now I gotta say, Yahdon, with all that being said, that fried chicken took our friendship to another level. Like I would take if I saw you on the street being threatened, I would definitely step up for you. But that fried chicken, Yahdon, like I would probably I'd take a bullet and not just take a bullet. I would ask you like, Yahdon, where you want me to stand? Like you want me to get it on the right shoulder, the left shoulder, like where you want it? Like that fried chicken was pretty special. Can you talk to me a little bit? We're gonna start with the fried chicken and then we'll expand from there. But
Right.
break it down, man. Like personally, I don't want to replicate what you like. I don't even want to know what the recipe is. But talk to me about your thinking when you said I'm gonna change the way I'm making my chicken, because that I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what's ironic about the chicken recipe, and I think anybody who got a fried chicken recipe or then learn fried chicken recipes, I think like with anything that should takes like decades to like really, I wouldn't even say master, because every time the circumstances is different. Sometimes, you know, depending if you rushing in from outside, if I'm rushing in from outside, there's like I don't give the chicken enough time to defrost properly, so it might have a little bit of moisture on the inside, so the flour don't stick right. So there's very rare times, or like sometimes what I like to do is I like to season it the night before and let it sit in the seasoning for for a whole day. And there's just then it's like it's the cut of like I like to particularly use like chicken thighs with the skin with the skin on and the bone in.
Oh yeah.
But what I can definitely say is like my progress of making fried chicken definitely spoke to what I knew and how much I was paying attention to making it. I remember, I think I shared this story with you. I remember a time when I thought that the fried chicken color, the color of the fried chicken skin came from a brown bag. Like I didn't know it came from the seasoning. So I remember like watching my mother make it in the brown bag, and I thought, oh, that's how it gets its brown color. So all I did was put the chicken, I cleaned it with vinegar, defrost it, soak in the vinegar for about 10 minutes. Then I didn't even season it. I just threw it in the bag with flour, and I thought that the chicken was going to come out brown, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And then it was the question of how much oil did I use now? Like I remember growing up in the 90s, 2000s, my moms didn't buy like the big gallons of Wesson or like, vegetable oil, out a little, 119 bottle. And she would line the bottom of the pan, because you can't just be out here pouring whole gallons of oil in the pan. You got to make that oil stretch. So my mother wasn't, I wasn't growing up in a household. My mother was just using the ingredients liberally. She was very economic with everything. So because I think she grew up in an economical use of food and ingredients, her fried chicken, she knew how to like get it. So even though the whole chicken wasn't immersed in the oil, she can get it even. I just never was able. I didn't have the patience or like the concentration to really know to flip it on the side and stuff like that. So I mean, I would do it like the way you do it at like a fried chicken joint, like have a big, deep, cast iron skillet
Yeah.
filled to the brim with oil so that they could fry evenly. But when you came over that day, it was I had just a friend, my partner's friend had just gifted us what is it, a housewarming present, which was the deep fryer. And I remember I had a deep fryer. I was living with my man um, in undergrad, my man Mike, and that deep fryer changed the game because it told you when the oil was hot enough, and that's another variable. Like sometimes everything is right, and then the oil not hot enough, and then the chicken doesn't like fry hot and hard immediately. So sometimes the skin could be soggy. There's just so many different variables. Is a way of saying, like, I don't think anyone ever masters fried chicken. I think fried chicken is something you always are learning. And if you take anything you know about fried chicken for granted, you could definitely fuck up something you know how to do well. And I think one of the things that's good about having company when anytime I'm making fried chicken is that it keeps me, I don't skip no steps, because it's like sometimes you never know, like that one time that person comes to eat your fried chicken might be the only time. And that's what you got. That becomes your reputation. And that might not be the best representation for what you know how to do. So I wasn't taking no chances when you came over. I'm like, let me just do it the way I know how to do it. Let me not try to do anything extra. Let me do the tried and true method of how to make this chicken.
Yo, so we talk a lot about food, about cooking, and I
Mhm.
think that those conversations have increased since the pandemic started. And I know for me personally, it's been very therapeutic to, like, pull out a cookbook or find something online, but mainly I've been using cookbooks lately, and to just go to the store, get the ingredients, come back home, lay everything out, and put on some music and just go to work. And
Right.
like that's been like very therapeutic. I would say, of the things that have helped me get through the pandemic, that's probably the top thing, is cooking. Like, talk to
Right.
me, tell me about your experience cooking, because you've elevated in your game of cooking. Like, why? Like, what's the importance there for you, and what does that mean to you?
Right. So I'll be like, so I think like many people before the pandemic, or at least I'll speak for myself. I was working, like I was like an adjunct at like three different schools, um, doing a lot of freelance work. So I was always eating and going. It was not really a lot of opportunities where I was eating and sitting down. And most of the time, I would work out of Dumbo House, which is like a private social club in Dumbo, Brooklyn. And then I would eat there. I knew a lot of people on staff who would look out for the homie and comp the meals, and I was always good in eating. And one of the things the pandemic put me in the mindset of was, one, for a while, no restaurants was open, so I wasn't relying on going to eat out. And then two, I realized how bare my palate, my menu was in terms
Mm,
of cooking,
yeah.
because I know how to, I cook. My fried chicken game was always tight before. I could make some good empanadas. I could make a good burger and fries. Um, I can make a good French toast, but you know that the amount of dishes I had access to expired in like 2 weeks tops. Like I only know about 5 or 6 recipes, and we in week 4 the pandemic. I'm not trying to eat fried chicken again. So this was actually the situation that really shifted things. I would wake up with Serenity while Serenity mother Jill was asleep, and I didn't really have a a repertoire of things to make for Serenity. So like I would give her the yogurt, she wouldn't want that. So I didn't have that many ways to pivot. So for a while, I was just going with what she would eat. And she was like a little bit over a year at this time, because the pandemic happened. They were like, oh, the lockdown happened the week after Serenity turned 1. So she would eat the turkey bacon and she would eat blueberries. So I was just like, I'm just gonna give her that because she eats it. And then, her mom was like, yo, you can't keep giving, this girl can't eat blueberries and turkey bacon every day.
Yeah.
And Shorty is a private chef. So part of me is just like, well, then why don't you just make the breakfast? And I would just, sort of try to rely on, like, since you know this stuff, like, why can't you just give me recipes and things like that? And I think I got to a place where I sat there and I thought about it and I'm like, wait, like that could work for the short term, but like, I always think like, well, what if this girl ain't here one day? Or what if this girl just ain't around? I'm just gonna rely on something I can do myself. And then so after a while, like I think it was a time we were sitting in the kitchen and I was just like, you know what? And I just like accepted that I have to learn something that makes me uncomfortable, which is like I gotta go outside my comfort zone and start looking up recipes. So I went on these like kid websites about different toddler meals to make, and then I started from there. That's how I really started with the cooking. That's how I really started, because it was just like I just recognized like, oh, like one of the things Feeding Serenity made me aware of is like how limited my scope was in cooking. And, I grew up like some people who grew up, child of the 90s, grew up like you didn't have like options. Like you didn't eat that, you didn't eat. Like whatever your parents made for you, if this is not what you want, all right, well, then you go to sleep. So now we in a generation where there's like, with all these different things about childhood trauma and all these different things, I think that our generation growing up has a lot more of a like, how can we make our kids feel? How can we eliminate a lot of the traumas that we grew up with? And there's a part of it that was a part of it that I was like, I never thought about making another thing if the kid didn't want to eat. It's like, well, she must not be hungry, because if she's hungry, she's gonna eat. But Joe's just bringing that other idea of like, you want to be able to make pivots. And I realized that one of the things that like poverty doesn't afford in a sense is like an idea of a pivot. Like you don't like the spinach that come out the can, then you don't eat tonight. Like I'm not making you something else. There's like, because that thing I would make you for something else is for another night. Like all that food is spoken for. So to be in a particular situation where I could even pivot was the testament to like a particular type of privilege that I'm like, I'm aware of. Like, yo, like we did not pivot. Like you didn't eat that, you didn't eat. But anyway, so that's where it started. It started from me developing and expanding my palate for Serenity, and then like learning how to make different things for Serenity. What happened next in this sort of trajectory was like, I used to drink the drinks at restaurants, and then there's no restaurants to drink at. And I think I bought one of those, like, what is it called? Those like pina colada mixes that come at the supermarket, the master mixes. You could just pour what is it called? The rum in and you shake it and you get it. And I was like, this just wasn't it. And so I had a friend who lived in the building who actually worked at Soho House.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I asked her to send me a recipe and walk me through how to make a proper pina colada. And she had me getting the juices and stuff like that. And I made it. I was like, oh, this is fly. Then I asked her to give me the recipe for the other drinks. And then when I made one of the drinks, there's this drink called the picante. It's like a tequila like margarita there, or margaritas are made tequila. But like there was this margarita that I really favored there. And she told me how to make that shit. And when I made it, to see that I could make something in my house that looked like something in a restaurant, that was really where the shift happened. Like if I could make
was that the one that I had?
Nah, that wasn't the rum punch. That was you. By the time you came back around, we in November, I was like cooking at least 3 or 4 times a week, going on recipes. But the catalyst for getting me to cook was wanting to expand my palate for Serenity, and just wanted, and not even for her, but expand it for myself because of her. So she was the catalyst, but she wasn't the reason. I just realized like I can't rely on somebody else to always be there to just do everything that I can learn myself. And I was just like, this is uncomfortable. But it's not like I'm going anywhere. So, but then when I made that drink and that drink tasted like the drink, I was like, oh, I can do this shit. And it never, that's always the thing. There's always that thing that like the things we make at home will never be as good as the things we get in restaurants.
Yeah.
And I remember that's dramatized in that Eddie Murphy joke on Raw when he made the joke about the McDonald's and his mother making a McDonald's burger and it looking nothing like the burger from McDonald's. It's like the meat is a circle and it got green peppers in it. And it's like you got Wonder Bread, you don't got buns. So I think that coming back to this idea about poverty is like this idea that like the world's ice is colder than what's in your house, right? Like the ice is just better outside your house than it is in your house. And so of course you always want to eat out as opposed to like, oh, we can make, like when I say we can make that thing outside, I can actually make it.
Oh yeah.
To taste like and to look like and then make it better. So once I made that drink, then I became really like excited about like what else can I make?
And Yahdon, I don't mean to cut you off, but a part of that too is ingredients, and because you talk to me, we talk a lot about ingredients too, and the importance of like if they ask you to like get a pineapple juice, you don't just get any pineapple juice. It's a specific pineapple juice because of the quality of it changes. The quality of that drink changes as well. Right. And I remember I was making I made lasagna for the first time ever. And when I made that lasagna, I had that same experience that you had where I was like, oh, this is the best lasagna outside of leaving the States. This is the best lasagna I've ever had. And I was, of course, I was following a recipe, but it's still like I almost Venmo'd myself for that meal. That was delicious. Tell me a little bit about them ingredients, man. Like where do you go to what are you thinking about as you're looking at a recipe and you're seeing what's on there? Do you like cut corners, or do you just say, all right, this is what they're telling me this is what I'm gonna do?
So really, I just follow the recipe. Like before, I used to have an arrogant approach to recipes. Like these recipes don't know what they're talking about. But what I realized too, and this is what helped, is that I had all of the utensils to make the rest to do the stuff. So like I remember when I thought like a cup of water was literally what any cup you had in the house. A tablespoon was the spoon you use to eat cereal. A teaspoon was the spoon you use to drink tea. I didn't know these were units of measurement. So to be able to be in a house and have like all the tablespoon things and to have like the actual measurements, the things that measure things out, because nobody in my family, nobody in my neighborhood I ever seen use units of measurement to cook. Everything was all like instinct and feeling. It's like, you taste it, that's too much salt. Let me add some water to this. Oh, this is too watery. Let me add some onion powder. So it was never like if even with this fried chicken recipe, like if you asked me how much of what I used, I couldn't tell you because that was something that was just like trial and error to the point where it became like a muscle memory where it's like, all right, this feels like my wrist done dab 3 times too many, right? So now I know that's going to be salty, but so I would approach the recipes with the same sort of thing, like why I need to measure this out. Like anybody who has to measure things out must not know how to cook. But I realize now, looking back, that spoke to my own insecurity about just being in a space where I realized that it was something to learn about cooking, which was I didn't have the proper tools to really replicate the results that I was going after when I was following a dish. I remember when I first ate like a pineapple chicken dish at this Thai restaurant for my friend's birthday. And I went home and then I tried to replicate it and I got a recipe. And I don't even think it was a recipe from the restaurant. But half the recipe I didn't even follow. I was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna make the chicken the way I want to make it. And then I'm gonna just get pineapples. And the shit tasted like a pineapple with chicken. It didn't taste like pineapple chicken. Yeah. Like it was terrible because I'd seasoned the chicken the way I season chicken and not the way they're telling you, you got to use the soy sauce and got to use this like ingredient that I never heard of or don't know where to get from. And instead of me just being like, I'm gonna follow this recipe, I'm like, I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. And I'm gonna arbitrarily decide when I want to listen to what this is. And it came out terrible. And I went back to that same experience and I made it like, I think in June. And it was fire because I just followed what the recipe laid out, but I also had the tools to follow it. And I don't mean just the tools of like the utensils, but also like the humility to go, like, I'm gonna have to trust somebody else's recipe, even though I don't know them. And that was also like an act of faith.
Tell me something. Think about the person that you would really love to have a meal with. So whoever that person is, that's in your head, like I would love to sit down and chop it up with them over a meal. What dish would you cook for them?
I don't know. Those are two different questions. Person I would really have a meal with. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
It could be somebody who's, who you're able to get in contact with. It doesn't have to be a reach.
I mean, like, what would I make for them? I think I really like, now that I'm at a place where I'm cooking a lot, it's not even as simple as like what would I cook for them so much as like I'm interested in what they like, and I'm trying to go to what I know how to make and match what their profile would be. That's really what's exciting. So like if I have a friend coming over, if I'm going to like friends coming over, I'm thinking about like what can I make? Like, oh, if they like potatoes, it's like there's like several different potato recipes I have in my mind. Like I could do the smashed potatoes, I could do the au gratin from scratch, I could do, the Vermont cheese, mashed potato. Like there's so many different, so it's like it's less about like what I would make specifically, because there's not like I have a go-to dish. It's like it really is about like, now one of the beauties of having a palate is like I just don't have, oh, I'm gonna make, like I remember when I was making fucking mashed potatoes out the box, like where everything that I made came out of a box or a can. And now to even incorporate that question of the ingredients, like I know the difference, right, between like cilantro and parsley. Like I didn't know the difference. Like I remember being in the supermarket and looking at them and being like, I don't see the difference. And then realizing that, oh damn, like this is why I don't really do any of this stuff, because I don't know. I didn't have a textural relationship with the tactile relationship with my food. So much of my food are in boxes. So much of my food was in boxes and cans. And I think that for specifically, part of what poverty does is it disconnects us from the world in a tangible, in a tactile way. Like we really don't even necessarily enjoy our food so much as we just inhale it. Like it's really like it's just to get us to the next thing. It's not like we sitting there and we're savoring and we're tasting and enjoying it. And it was something that occurred to me in terms of following a lot of these recipes, especially when it came to red meat and some of these recipes. I'm like, yo, why are all these recipes only asking you to season with salt and pepper? I'm like, yo, these, I'm just, oh, these people, white people don't know how to season their food. And then I'm realizing, like, I'm looking up, like, well, what does salt even do? And it's like salt enhances the flavor of the meat. Pause. And I'm like, that shit just made me think, like, wow, like if salt, like I grew up using seasoned salts, Lowry's, Sazon, adobo, and I'm like, yo, those things season the meat with its own flavor. Salt enhances the flavor of what's already there. And I'm like, yo, what if one of the reasons why our parents and our grandparents and their parents, thinking about these legacies of inequality and fucking oppression is like, having inferior meat meant that you did not want to enhance the flavor of inferior meat. You wanted to mask that shit. You wanted to hide it. So you wanted, you probably gonna taste more adobo than anything, because this is not really high grade. This is not prime choice beef. And so when I'm buying, prime cut ribs and stuff like that, or ribeyes, and I'm able to just season it with salt and taste it, I'm like, damn, like this is where that oppression is also in our food. Like, damn, like I'm not even, like I grew up not really even tasting the actual food I was eating, but like really tasting what was used, what our parents and grandparents used to mask it and try to give it something that would allow it to go down.
Yeah, even with steak, man, I used to eat it well done. That's the only way I had steak. And because of that, I didn't like eating steak because it was hard to chew. And then I met a friend who could actually cook, and he's like, "Nah, bro, you ain't supposed to cook that all the way through. You're supposed to do it like a medium or medium rare,
right,
more on the red, on the pink side, man. Let that flavor come out of there." And when I did that, now I can't eat steak any other way, of course. But yeah, that's just another example of it, because it was that thing where my mom was like, make sure you cook the meat all the way through. I ain't trying to take nobody to the hospital. I can't afford to. So
right.
that's what I thought.
And absolutely, like if you get because the truth of it is, if you're getting inferior cuts of meat, then you do got to cook it through, because you can get sick. Like, and I remember to share share a similar story on how I got introduced to like the medium. I was at this place called Flip Burger. It was like a restaurant.
Whoa, what you know about Flip Burger?
Flip Burger was a restaurant in Bloomingdale's, and I had like a little Bloomingdale's credit card. And I used to go there, use the credit card to eat when I didn't have money, right? The irony, right? Like I didn't have money, so I would go to Bloomingdale's to eat, because all I had to do was put a $25 minimum on my credit card, and I was, living like a king. So I would go there to eat, and I ordered a burger one time, and it was this dude, I think he was like this bartender there, and I ordered this Kobe beef burger.
Yeah.
Well done. And he was like, "My man, why are you ordering it well done?" And I'm like, "Because that's how you're supposed to. I don't want to get sick." And he was like, "You're not going to get sick, and you're not going to taste the meat." Pause. And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna do it." He's like, "Listen, this is how much I want you to taste this burger. I'm going to order you the burger. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it." And I'm like, "If I ain't gotta pay for it, fuck it. Like, I might as well try it." So he brought the burger out, and it was medium well, I think. And I tasted it, and I was like, "Oh, this shit tastes good." He was like, and he explained to me, like, I understand what you believe, because I'm from that same, I was of that same belief system. But it's like, I think because anytime somebody's willing to risk something in order to make a point, I pay attention to those types of people, because it means like, something I don't.
Right.
Like, when you're like, "I'm willing to allow you to walk out of here without paying for your meal. This is how much I think. This is how much I know what I know." It's like that is like, okay, if you believe it that well, like if you're gonna put yourself at risk for me to see something, I did. And I was just like, yo, and then that was my moment. And I realized that in that moment, what it was somebody willing to, like, because there's people that will always, not people, but like waiters, I've been in restaurants who will kind of like shun you or look down. Like, these people always ordering well done steaks. And there's a lot of condescension, but not a lot of like, like that understanding and that compassion and that empathy of like, well, maybe this person, not even that doesn't know any better, maybe what they know reflects a certain reality that's valid. Because it's not about them not knowing any better, because given the conditions, if you got inferior meat, you do know the best thing for you is to eat this shit well done, because you don't want to get sick.
Right.
You also can't afford to get sick either. Right. So where homie came from was like, "Bruh, I understand where you're coming from." And he could have just been like he could have been an asshole about it and just ordered the well done burger and just pop shit or like made jokes in the back. But he was like, "Listen, I know I grew up believing the same thing, but trust me." And I trusted him, and that was one of those moments that I was just like, "Oh, this is different." But like, yeah. So it's just like those moments where somebody sees you and can empathize with your situation.
Yeah. I got this recipe that I think you would like. It's called a Sunday gravy with rigatoni and sausage. But you don't do pork, so you would have to do it with like a chicken sausage, which is I found, ironically, I found some really good chicken sausage through another recipe that I was working on with my roomie. But I got to send you that one. I think you'll like it. It's like a ragu, like a dark ragu with the pasta on it. Oh man, like you got to throw some oxtails in there too. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. One more thing before I let you go. I know you like music. You're big into music, and you also like get into the films when it's right, when it's a good one. What would be the song that plays during the opening credits of your biopic?
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that, like, for me, I think now, because I don't really even, I don't know, I don't even know how my life would go. Like, I definitely know it would be, if I'm being honest, it would be something Kanye. I don't know, like, definitely, like, something from Late Registration. But
Mm,
that's just more of a mood than like, because I really, like, to be honest, where I'm at in my life now is like, I spend so much more. I'm in a place now where I'm more comfortable saying I don't know.
yeah.
And I think before, if you asked me that question like 5 years ago, I was so much in the mind frame that I had to know everything. And I wanted to know everything. And I'm coming to a place where I'm becoming more comfortable, or being okay with not knowing certain things and being at peace with the fact that I might not ever know that. So I would say that to say, like, I really don't know. Like, I really don't know what the song would be.
Wait, you dying? I lost you for a second. You said to bring it back. What?
To bring it back full circle, the reason why I reach out to people, because it's like I never know whose funeral is coming up. None of us know.
Mm.
Yeah, but that song, I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know. I think, yeah, something Kanye. Something Kanye.
I
Something
was
Kanye.
actually listening to Late Registration the other day.
It's a really good album.
It's a great album, man. It's a great album. In that spirit, I know the one thing that I've been trying to do a lot more of this past year is say no, because I usually say yes to everything.
Okay.
So, but I'm that's a great point. Maybe I need to start thinking about the I don't knows as well. But definitely no for me was a huge struggle that I'm now coming around to, and not just no, but like no with purpose. Like this is the why. This is the why I can't do it. So
Right.
yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
I thank you. I've appreciated how, like, something I appreciate often more than, what's the word, like, what people do is how long they do it. And anytime I see somebody doing something for a consistent period of time, it tells me that they really believe in it. So, you know, this is part of you. This is a function of your belief, like drinking milkshakes on a Thursday.
Sometimes in the morning too, man. Sometimes in
Yeah.
the morning. I would recommend not
And
doing
I
that.
finished it.
I finished mine too. I finished mine too.
Right.
Oh, tell me something. If people want to, so I've been asking folks that have come on, not only if they want to plug their stuff, but also if there's a organization or foundation out there that you wanted to plug, like something that people can donate to. No pressure to do that, but just in case. But tell people where they can, find your stuff. Like where can people find you?
You could follow me on at Yahdon on, like, Literary Swag Book Club. When you asked about the organizations off the top, there's this program, Books to Prisoners program,
Mm,
um, that's getting more, books in the hands of people who are incarcerated in different states. And I don't know if anybody has somebody who's incarcerated, how hard it is, because there's so many rules about what books they can and can't get. You can't get hardcovers because of weapons, things like that. So, like, I think anybody who are in American history, where, like, you had people going to jail and becoming politicized and radicalized because of the libraries and prisons. And I think there were so many people coming out of jail with these political educations that, different government and administrative different administrations were like, this is just best that we just get these schools and these education programs out these prisons, because people are coming out literally better than they went in. And so these book to prison programs are definitely Books Beyond Bars is one of them, NYC Books Through Bars, just some of the names, but definitely thinking about how to stay, once again, connected to the people who, once they become out of sight, they're out of mind. And unless you have somebody who's in prison that's close to you, that you make it a point to see or visit. It's very hard to just forget about the fact that there's like 2.5 million people living behind bars. And I know for some people, it's very easy to think about, well, those people belong to be there. And I think that's a particular comfort or convenient way to think about it. I think a more difficult way to think about it is that many of the people who are behind bars have not been convicted of crimes. Even more, many people, they're seeing it in the newspapers every day, serving double-digit sentences for crimes you find out that they never committed, they didn't commit. So a way to keep it connected is, how do you think about the people who are out of sight, and keep them on your mind? And part of it is like, nobody's asking you to like bail somebody out, but I think participating in one of these programs just reminds them that you're connected, that there's people, that are thinking about them. And sometimes just knowing, to a phone call, like sometimes I might miss a phone call, but just to know if somebody called me or sent me a text or left a voicemail, just knowing that people are thinking about you can go a long way.
But I appreciate it, man. And I'm gonna sign off here while this thing's still acting up.
All right, homie.
I appreciate it, man. I'll holler at you later.
I'll let you.
Yeah.
Talk to you.